Hello and welcome back to the Dating Game Summit. Joining me today is Markham Davis, and he just finished writing a book. It's actually going to be released in the next week or so. By the time you're watching this video, it's already going to be out, and it's an awesome book. I haven't got a chance to really dive in it yet, but from just hearing him talk about it, I'm really excited to jump into the details. The book is called The Legacy, and it's all about helping men find their purpose in life. So we're going to go deep into
Mhm.
some of the principles and really just kind of talk about what this book is about and how you can have a better sense of purpose for your own life. So Markham, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh man, it's so great to be here. I love talking to men. I've been a men's development coach for 15 years. I had a weekly broadcast myself. As you mentioned, we were talking off before we got on live. Friend of Dr. Robert Glover's and spoken on stage with him. And so to me, every time I get a chance to talk to guys, honestly, it's one of the biggest questions they ask. It's like what can I do to bring my heart to life, and why am I here? What's my purpose? So the birthing of all those years and the experience I went running a nonprofit, living in Ukraine, and then continuing to stay after the war started to help them, seeing people I knew who were fairly unknown develop what I would have considered a legacy to rival the rich and the famous. I thought there's something deeper here, and I wanted to help guys piece it together, create a formula that anybody could apply to their lives. So therefore the book. And I'm
Yeah,
really excited about this. So thanks for giving me a chance to chat about it and share with your guys, give them some hope.
absolutely, Markham. So let's get right into the book here. So it's all about helping men find their purpose in life. What
Mhm.
what inspired you to write this book?
Well, a culmination of events, and uh, I'll condense it briefly, but basically during my 40s, I had a season of, the 2000s. Everybody, became millionaires, and so did I. And I had an amazing business. I grew as a distributor for a publicly held company, and I grew it to 5.5 million. I was making 10%. So I'm like, I'd
Yeah.
only been a little desk jockey before that. So this was like unbelievable. And I was exuberant in lavishing whatever I wanted upon myself. And I traveled the world, and all of a sudden I just came out from being, a guy never made more than 50,000 a year. And here I've got a 5,500 square foot top model home off of this big community, Jaguar family car, convertible Mercedes. And then, what happens, the crash happens in
Mhm.
'08. Um, prior, I mean, I've had my share of heartaches in life as well. My previous spouse had passed away, left me as a single dad, and then I'd remarried a wonderful lady from Ukraine. And then she was there to kind of share the journey with me to the crash. And I blogged a little bit about her and did one video about our international, what I believe to be great international relationships. And a guy calls me on Christmas Day in 2010, after 2 years of the crash, '08 crash, and losing everything. And he says, "Hey, I saw the little thing you did on that. I want to make a documentary and have you be the host. I guess you just like my personality." And I was so down because I realized that everything I put all of my effort into to uh, you know, basically self-indulgence. I got the ego food out of people going, "Wow, nice car," "Oh man, tell me about your trip, on the Amazon River," and all this kind of stuff. And all of a sudden I'm sitting here watching, having to lose my house, lose my cars, losing investment properties, moving into a little condo that my parents weren't using in Anaheim, in not a great neighborhood. And all I could do to hold myself together and try to find hope, was this one guy says, "Hey, I have a new idea for you to do," because I had to put my wife to work. We'd lost everything in bankruptcy. And I just realized what a decade of self-indulgence had done when it was all gone. There was nothing to show for
Mhm.
it. I really hadn't done anything
Mhm.
to benefit anybody else but myself. Now,
Mhm.
then comes along Rick. So let me do this shift and tell you how the book came about. So
Mhm.
Rick comes along and says, "Let's do this documentary." And he says, "But first, let's get you creating an audience. Let's warm it up a little bit." So we started doing weekly broadcasts. And I started just sharing from my heart, sharing when I had some relationship advice. I mean, by then I'd created a multi-million-dollar business. And so I tried to give some tips. I had, take myself from an obese man, got into shape. So I was just trying to offer various stuff. And I love the interaction with guys. We'd have 100 guys a week coming on this live webinar. And it felt good to have something positive in my life. Now, the interesting thing was in this, I developed a business out of it, and then I ended up making trips back to Ukraine with my wife to develop this nonprofit. So abundanceinternational.org, we're helping the orphans in Ukraine, just a couple of orphanages, but it was a love project. So I feel like I'm starting to find hope in life again, but I wasn't making money. It wasn't a lot of money, and in fact, in my 50th birthday, on the day, happened to be one of the days for my live broadcast. And I remember just telling the guys, man, I really, I would love to know that some of this has helped you, because I'm not making any money at it. My wife's still waiting tables. And wow. God bless it. For the next hour, these guys just poured love into me. And they said, "Are you kidding me?" He says, "Look, I took my side hustle. It's my main business now. I'm on my own. I have freedom." Another guy says, "Dude, I followed your pattern. I've lost 100 pounds. It's like, I've never felt so good in my life. You probably saved my life." Another guy says, my relationships reformulated it to this whole idea you're sharing with us. And, on and on it went for an hour. I was like, wow, I had no idea. And even after the session, these guys went on my website and 88 more posts about different things they'd said, that I'd blessed their lives. And, I felt like, what was it? The Grinch at the end, he's going, "How'd this happen? There's no money or toys or big houses, it didn't come like this." It was like, how did this love come? What, how did I get this? But it was just like, wow, man, I never wanted to let this feeling go. It was so beautiful that I'd actually done something to help these guys' lives. And Rick, we ended up not doing the documentary, but we just became friends. And he had an interesting story of his own. So let me tell you how the book came about, because it's really taken from Rick's example. So Rick, prior to meeting me, had just been an insurance sales guy. He worked in a cubicle, but I mean, he was actually a trainer for a major corp. So he was like one of 100,000 employees. He was just in the cog in the wheel. And as a single dad, the guy was just burned out. He was working so hard to meet quotas and deadlines and try to make these people happy, which is impossible in corporate America. And he just knew he was only giving the leftovers to his daughter, and it really pained him. So he was just trying to do something and birthed out of his soul. He said, "I got to write a book." So he wrote a book called The Safari Chronicles. It took him a couple of years, and he just had to do it when he could. But when it came out, it sold a few thousand copies. But the most important one was a university professor picked it up. She saw something in it, had her students read it, and said, "Hey, I'd like you to come at the end of this class and speak to my students about your book," and got an invitation letter from the university along with a check for $2,000. And he was like, "Excuse me? $2,000 to talk about my own book? Are you kidding me?" So he got all excited. He came in and he just loaded it onto them, and he got 2 more referrals off of that. And he started going like, "Wow, how can I get enough of these to replace my income?" Right. Mm-hmm. And so within a year, sure enough, he could drop his job, and he was full-time, made enough money to just speaking that he could be at home really and spend the time with his daughter. And I talked to Rachel, his daughter, and she was telling me about how, so often he would just call the high school admissions, say, "She's not coming in today." And they just go off skiing, and loved and talked about it. And after a while, he started getting a little burnt because he got too successful. He's making $300,000 a year speaking, part of the National Speakers Guild or whatever it's called. And so he says, I want that life back I had when I first started. So he created something called the Speaker Machine. He taught other people how to make a living speaking. So when all of this coalesced, he was helping me get going. He was part of the Speaker Machine thing. And he calls me up one day, and we just become dear friends. And we'd traveled. I'd been all different places around the world with him, and it helped him meet his wife in Ukraine also. He says, "Mark, you got to pray that God gives me another decade. I just found out I've got spurs growing up my spine. I'm going for radiation treatment." He says, "I know I've got another book in me." And unfortunately, 2 days later, infection flooded his body. And the day he was
Mm,
supposed to receive the treatment, he passed. It
mm,
just it overtook him. And I loved him dearly, and it just shocked me. I wouldn't have seen it coming. And on his memorial service, all these people came on, and they just gushed with love. It seemed like every one of them had this love relationship with him, like I had. And what he had done with his programs, his creations, what he created between his books and his programs to share with so many, how caring and giving and loving. He was a robust personality. It's almost like in the Christmas the Ghost of Christmas Present, just this robust personality that everybody just loved. And then of course he left property for his wife, and then his daughter came on, and just we all went to tears, and just hearing how much she loved him, how much he'd been such a great dad to her, and how much she adored their relationship. And I just said, wow, this guy really did it. Here's a guy
mm,
just 8 years earlier was just working in a cubicle in some Mogalith company, and he just touched so many people in a way that was so beautiful. It made me wonder how he did it, was the secret to that. So over a period of time, I'd started studying this formula because I thought, this guy made a legacy. How did he do it? What's the formula to it?
mhm,
And the short end of the story is I studied various memorial services and what people were saying, and I studied living legacies, and it's like, what's the formula that people touch people? So I came to the conclusion that first, before I give you the formula, is that I personally believe that a legacy is basically the way what you have done touches other people's lives in a positive way, so they would speak about you. It's like they can't say it to your face. You can't say, this is my legacy. It's literally when you're not present in the room, somebody else is going, that dude was so cool to me. He did this for me, or that guy did this, or I loved his book, or I loved it. Whatever it is, there's something about the music he made that touched me, or right when I was down, he said the right word. It's like when somebody talks about how you touch their lives when they're not right in the room with you, that is your legacy. And so it's like, how do you control something when you're not there? How do you control a conversation happening between people when you're not in the room? And so as I studied these services, the living legacies, I came down to a list of 5 things that people, when they're speaking of someone's legacy, talk about one or more of these categories.
mm,
And first of all, it's the people, obviously. It's like with Rachel, with her dad, with somebody who's a bro, that was just a family member, whatever. This is a relationship. It's a people issue. The deep, it's a marriage spouse or whatever. So people was the first one. The second one, which I hadn't thought about until I did this analysis, was experiences. You know how many people talked about the crazy ass stuff we did together? We went this, we did this thing, we went to Rio, we did all these kind of experiences were
yeah,
high on the list. I thought
yeah,
about it myself. I was like, yeah, I thought, when I went to Salt Lake City, met him at this convention, we did this crazy stuff, or I met him in Denver or in Ukraine. And so I thought about experiences as true. And of course, people think of legacy. The first thing they think of is just assets. It's like a will or a
mhm,
trust. And Rick had left a ranch property to his wife. And of course, the next one is creations. Now, creations is where you get more of your rock stars, your artists, movie actors, but also architects. It's like things you create to build that will touch people you'll never meet, or you'll never even know that you touch them, but you make something, put it
mhm,
out to the world from your soul, right? And so
mm,
I love creations because it's the biggest thing that can touch the most people. And then the last one I saw was some element of philanthropy, what I call expressions of kindness. And it could just be like you were there for somebody at the right time. You were just there to touch them, and they did this. And then here's the aha moment where it just blew my mind, and I just realized we're onto something big here, because I was trying to figure out, like Morgan Freeman is a living legend, and I think about how emotionally I connected with some of his acting and inspired me, or a book I'd read. But it's like, okay, well, how do I do that? Where's my formula? And as I look through these 5 pieces, people, experiences, assets, creations, and expressions of kindness, I said, this is the deal. If you touch on each of these areas, you will build a legacy. And it doesn't have to be, Steve Jobs-esque. It can just simply be you touch enough people in those areas, they're going to talk about you fondly, remember you, and what you've done will be carried on. And as I went through this,
Mhm.
it was so funny. I was already writing the book when it dawned on me that people, experiences, assets, creations, expressions of kindness is an acronym that spells peace.
Hmm.
I was like, whoa, okay,
That's
now
pretty
that's
cool.
cool. That is
Yeah, it is
really
cool.
cool.
So that
And
happened unintentionally.
unintentionally, it
Wow,
was just
man.
sort of like I was looking at it, and I had to actually rearrange one of the letters out of in the order
Yeah.
to come up with that. But I go, wait a minute, it's right here, it's in front of me. I'd already started writing it, the book,
That's pretty
and
cool,
then
man.
yeah, thanks. I thought this makes it deliverable. This makes it teachable. This
Mhm.
makes something people can hang on to. Anyway, so that's the genesis of the book.
Nice, man. Wow. So when it comes to these acronyms, so let's go through this one by one here, so we
Sure.
can give the viewers a little glimpse into each one.
Mhm.
Could you share maybe a golden nugget of wisdom for each
Sure.
acronym? So starting with people.
People.
Hmm.
Relationships are the richest of richness of life, and the hardship we have, and I'm one of these as well, is that we've all been burned, we've been hurt, we've been betrayed, we've had loss, and there comes a time when in any of us at some point in our life just say the heck with people. And that's not really the answer any more than somebody who has loved and lost will say that I'll never love again. Then we just know we miss out on something good that's meant for us in our life. And so how do you find the value in the relationship and develop it? And I found this list, it's in the book. There are 10 different categories of ways people can come into our life and add value. And they can be different people, and they have to be. It's like the mistake we make is thinking like this one spouse or significant other or girlfriend is going to be all things for us, and they're not.
Hmm.
So you can get the whole list in the book, but you can imagine there's some people in our life who are just companions. It's like, this is a buddy I just love to hang out with. You can imagine there's somebody else who challenges us, and maybe it's somebody you're in competitive with in a sport or something. Obviously you have your intimate relationship, and I have a whole section on there called romantic mastery, the things I've learned
Mm.
about how to really dial in that piece of life so you can feel giddy in love forever. And
Yeah.
something I
Well,
learned
if
from.
we could digress just a little
Yeah,
bit, because this is a dating summit, if
sure.
we could spend just a little bit of time to talk about the romantic mastery that you're referring to.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
here we go, guys. This is
This is where it
listen, I
really
love
begins.
this is going to be tight because
Yeah.
this deserves to be a TED talk, and I really want to get
Yeah.
into it. So get a piece of paper out and pencil and get ready to write
Mhm.
this down. So in romantic mastery, one thing that has always irked me is the American paradigm for now. Obviously, I've told you before, I was married to a Ukrainian woman, so I have this multinational thing. I've been to 26 countries now, and I've observed so many different attitudes towards this. When I first went to Thailand, I had a translator sit me down with a Buddhist monk so I can understand how they teach and what they do. And there's such a different philosophy that would be helpful to all of us. So I want to help you just have a clean slate and open your mind. This is going to be nothing you've heard before from anybody else, because I take from an international perspective and I bring it home to us. We need this information. We need to learn the best of everybody's different pieces. And so here they are. First of all, the reason that I believe there's a failed relationship dynamic in the West has to do, first of all, we have a misconception about how we interact. We are common with each other. We say you marry somebody from your own culture, and you're going like, well, I know how my parents did it. Well, this is how my parents did it. And you get into this argument about, well, this is how it should be done. So we bring this to the table. When you have somebody from different cultures, what I observed is that they can't bring that, because how can you say to somebody, well, this is how my parents did it? Well, you married somebody from Japan. Okay, so
Mhm.
how does she do it? Now you have this clean slate. You start all over and you go, okay, well, wait a minute. All right, well, then tell me. And you do it when you're at peak, like when you're in the romantic stage, when you're deeply giddy in love, you're like, holy cow, you have that 6 to 8 month window of what they call the honeymoon phase, where nobody can do any wrong, and you're
Mhm.
cute. You have little inside jokes and you snicker, and there's this cute stuff you do with each other, and your favorite dates you go on. And right then, with a clean slate, without any other expectation. What I find is these couples that are really successful is they say, you know what, I don't even know other good marriages. I want to do something. I want to have what we have, and I want it to last forever. And here's what I love about us. And they'll come up with their own vocabulary.
Mm.
It's almost like tribes with Seth Godin. He talks about, when you create a tribe, they have their own vocabulary, right? So these couples do this. So my first of the three suggestions I'm going to give you is find out what your relationship looks like at peak state, and put a marker there, put like a bar, say, okay, we're right, whether you're right here or you can remember what it's like, or if you need to get out of the roommate relationship, come back to your partner and say, don't you want to feel in love like we did? And so I picked you, you picked me, wouldn't you like this to be the greatest of all relationships in the world? Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what do we love about who we are? And get everything else out of your mind. Forget culture, forget your parents. It's like, what do we want? How do I want to be? Don't I want to feel in love every day? Don't you want to feel in love every day? Don't you want these, it drives me, crazy to be with you. And then not only do you find out the markers about what, you are at peak state, you talk about it, you glow in it, and you write it down. And so it makes it easy to see when you have a standard, when you're not in standard. So when you're not here, you know what it looks like. And so then you agree with each other. Hey, when we know we're not this way, when I'm not getting in love with you and all this kind of stuff, let's figure out what happened and fix this so we can get back to that. So the goal of every disagreement, that everything that happens, is not to win a war, not to win an argument. It's to get the crap out of the way as quick as possible to get back to peak state, because love is the greatest emotion there is. Honeymoon love. I don't know if there's a higher experience in this universe other than great spiritual experiences, right? So that's the first one. Create the bar, get agreement with your partner that, hey, if we are it for each other, we're going to be monogamous, then why not make it the greatest we can be, right? And what does that look like? How great could it be? That's step one. Step two is to understand what I learned from my travels is anywhere outside, there's almost like this separation. There's like modern Western philosophy about relationships, and almost like the rest of the world. I lived in Mexico for a while. I've been to Bangkok for 6 months. Lived in Ukraine. I've been to all these different places. All three of them are separate. You talk about different Slavic, Asian, and Latin cultures, and I've lived among them. So I can tell you, they see relationship differently than we do in the West. Here in the West, we say, I found my life partner. And we talk almost in business terminology. And when we have a disagreement, we go to a marriage counselor. And the marriage counselor isn't supposed to take sides. What he's supposed to do is make each person feel heard. And then get them back together and say, okay, hey, now, could you do this for them? Great. Do you hear what they're saying? Could you do this for them? Oh, that'd be super. And you basically negotiated a business deal. Here's the terms for our peace, and I will do these things. You do those things. And of course, within a week, somebody breaks their din. Yeah, it's all back all over again. But this is why we don't get into a relationship to have business deals. I mean, it's like when you understand honeymoon state, all that stuff goes out the window. I don't care. I'm crazy about you. Something's in the way. Let's get it out of the way, because I want to get back to being crazy about you and you about me. Totally different. So overseas, they don't say life partner. They refer to their other person as their half. This shouldn't be new to us in the West. God bless it. The Christian Bible starts off with, and the two shall leave their mother and father, and the two shall become one. And what they literally see is each person is an expression of the other. This goes to their extended family circle as well. When I was living in Ukraine, the ladies there you ask them why they're always dressed to the nines when they go out, even to the grocery store. And they're just like, I would never want one of my mother's friends to see me if I was dressing sloppy or being rude to somebody and got back to her. It would embarrass my mother. And it's like, we don't give a shit. We just don't. We don't. America is like, so what? I'm going to dress in my pajamas and go to the Walmart. What do I care?
I'm laughing because I can totally relate, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And so the same thing goes with the spouse. Even if they're in a personal disagreement, they would never make it publicly. In fact, they would publicly praise their spouse, even if behind their back they're going, that lousy SOB, because they believe it's a reflection of them. I am now identified with you. And for you to be hurt is for me to be hurt. I want you to feel proud that you picked me, and for me to be proud I picked you. I want when you hear or talk to anybody else who meets me in public, that they say, wow, you know, Justin was such a cool guy, man. He was so nice, and you should be so proud to have him as a husband. And the same thing with your wife, right? To be able to say, wow, hey, I met your wife. What a sweetheart. She's an angel. You're a lucky guy to have her, right? And so the number 2 out of the 3 points is that understand you are one. And if you understood that, you don't want to do anything to hurt yourself. Make sense? But we don't see it that way. But if you can, and you can have the conversation with your significant other, agree to have that kind of a mindset. Let's add 1 and 2 together before I get to 3. You're on your way to something magnificent. First of all, you know what it feels like to be freaking in love and have it. And you say, we want to be the best. Why not? We picked each other. How great can we make this? And all disagreements are designed to get them out of the way so we can get back to that. Because I want to feel in love. You want to feel in love. We have each other. Let's freaking do it. Right. Second thing is understand that you are now connected and you want to represent them well. You want them to be proud they picked you, and vice versa. And again, if you both agree to this, you say, look, hurting you is hurting me, and I see you as myself. Okay, now the last of the 3 points. And again, like I said, this should be a TED Talk. And if it was, I'd have to condense it because I've gone a little long. But you just got me on a topic I'm really fired up about. And
yeah, man, it's fired me up as well.
So the third point is this, and I learned this from when I was working in Hollywood. There's a guy down there who had lived in Japan for 3 years, and we went to lunch. It was real traditional, not your off the wall sushi place, a real Japanese restaurant, where they had the little sand carved, all the feng shui stuff everywhere. And so he says, here's how dinner works. He goes, we have the glasses at the table, but the waitresses don't touch it, or whatever they call them in Japanese. They have the big pillows on the back. And he says, we serve each other. I don't serve my own drink. You don't serve your own drink. We serve each other. It's just sort of like, all right, I like this. Okay, I take care of you. You take care of me. So it sounded great, because we had water, we had sake, we had beer, and he had 3 different glasses for each one, and we're just going at it. I love this guy. We had such great conversations about travel, about marketing, and all this kind of stuff. And it had been probably 30 or 40 minutes into this conversation. I'm just live with the guy, having a great time. And I look over and I go, oh my God, his glasses are empty. and I'm going like, and they may have been empty for a long time. I haven't even been paying a freaking attention, and he was so kind, and he never would have said anything. I'm so sorry, bro. So I quickly fill up all 3 of his glasses. It's okay. It's okay. But I'm telling you what, for the next 2 hours, because we had a great lunch together, I was like watching those glasses like a hawk, it's like, okay, you're good. Pooh, I hit it. And here's the thing. I came away from that thinking about it. What an incredible reflex to develop in a relationship. What if you knew what the needs of your partner were? What were her cups? What are her cups? What are her cups for, she needs social interaction, mental stimulation, protection, tenderness, affection. She needs her physical health, or for her body, or whatever case may be, her spiritual development. What is important to her, and what does it take for her to feel those things? It also means for yourself what it takes for you. Maybe it's identifying your own love language, and maybe it's your intellectual, your ambitions at work, your finances. What are your cups that you need filled? And the thing is to have both of you know what your cups are and know how to fill them on your own, but to want to willingly be aware of the other person's cups and fill them for them. I mean, my friend Todd, he could have filled his own cup. He knew what he wanted to drink. It would have probably even been easier for him. But for me to be constantly aware of that means I know this other person, and I'm aware of their needs, and I want to help. Dude, I'm telling you, if you could do that in a relationship, if you had agreement with your partner with this picture, this illustration of filling each other's cups, you will have love for life. And I'm telling you one thing, any guy who knows how to make a woman feel in love, those feelings of being in love, those feelings of being giddy in love like a teenager, and you know how to fill her cups, you are like crack cocaine to her. She doesn't even know how badly she needs that, and she will never leave that man. I swear to you, she never will. But the thing is for you to also know what it takes for you to be loved. For little things. Like for me, I'm one of these, bizarre as it may seem. I mean, most guys think your love language has got to be touch and affection. God, have sex with me, touch me all over. Mine is words. I need words of affection. I need words of admiration, words of praise. I need just her to look in my eyes, say, "You're my hero." And hers are, my lady's words are service. Words aren't important. Show me what, and so I can do the littlest thing, and it's like, oh my God, right? It's like it was
Mhm.
it was nothing. I paid for the groceries.
Mhm.
Oh, what So in doing so, knowing it's not her natural propensity for words, I trained her to say, "Look, I can tell you something. If you want to make me happy, I'll even give you the list. Honey, I love you so much. I'm so happy you're my man. You do this." So I hand it, I said, "I don't even care if you copy and paste it. You have no idea when I hear that from you, what it does for me." And so we get to that level of being able to help each other win. Why would you not want to help each other win? Why would you not want to help her, make you feel crazy feelings for her, and the vice versa? What does it take for you to feel crazy in love, like you're cared for and protected? And tell me, and nobody does this stuff. And it's so simple. And as I say these words, every guy listening to this, you're going, yeah, it was kind of right? I mean, how could that not work? And it does, but we still play these games, and we still do all these different things to, like, well, don't let her do this, and wait a few days for that, stand off. And like, once you get in a relationship with somebody where you're really enjoying it, man, I say put the gas on it and say, "Look, I picked you, you picked me. How great can we make this? Let's go
Mhm.
for it," and have that dialogue. But know yourself and what it takes for you to fill your cups. Learn hers, guys. What is greater on the face of this earth than feeling in love and being loved? You will take that
Mhm.
energy to your career. You'll take that energy to your sports. You'll take that energy into everything you do, and knock it out of the park. So why not that's why I call it romantic mastery. You master this, not only should you be like crack cocaine for her, but it'll be rocket fuel for the rest of your life. Does that make sense,
Mhm.
bro?
Yeah, and you know what they say, behind every strong man, there's a woman there.
Okay. Don't tell us when.
You wanna rewrite that one, huh?
No, no, no. A well-trained woman. Now, by that, by that I mean teach her what it takes to make you feel like you have rocket fuel with her. Teach her. But it means you have
Yeah.
to learn for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's very important. To basically, what you're saying is, she needs to know what your needs are, and then you
Mhm,
need to know what her needs are, and then you need to make sure that on a daily basis that you're, in your words, filling the cup.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's so powerful, and it's so simple.
yeah.
It's really just so simple, and I feel like people complicate it so much. But the
Mhm.
way that you're describing this, it's like, wow, it really is just that simple. Just,
Yeah,
take care of one another. You're my other half, right? So,
yeah.
y- and it's
And
like,
let's
do
do
unto
this.
others as you would want to have them do unto you, the golden
Yeah.
rule.
And I tell you
And,
that even if you've been in a roommate-like relationship,
yeah.
or you're in honeymoon state, the moment you can get agreement with the other person to say, "Don't you want to feel crazy in love?" And if they agree, you can start heading towards that as your goal and let everything lead to that.
Mm.
So we don't have time to cover all 5 of the areas of the peace formula like that.
We took a detour, but I'm glad
We
I'm
did.
glad that we did. And I know a lot of men out there that are listening. They're a lot of single guys out there, and this
Yeah.
information will most definitely help you in the long run.
Yeah.
When you're dating the girl, it's great. Enjoy that honeymoon phase. But what he's sharing today is going to help you keep the girl. And I can speak from personal experience implementing these things that you're talking about, that it does work, and it is very simple, but you have to put intention into it.
Mhm.
If you
Well,
get
there's a
complacent,
plan. There's a
yeah,
formula.
there's a
Make it
plan.
easy, guys. We all have to
Yeah.
have formulas. We're guys.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, exactly. It's true. Cool,
Yeah, let
man.
me run
Well,
through the other 4 elements real quick,
yeah, we can do a
and
quick run through.
and then in your mind, just keep track of anything you want to end with. But
Okay.
again, I'll do a plug right here, guys. Please, I want you to ask you to go everywhere books are sold: Barnes and Noble, Amazon, online, everywhere you want to go, get a copy. Because for every copy you get, interestingly enough, the booksellers pay attention. They go, "Oh, somebody wants it," then they'll go stock more. So other guys will. Every time you buy books, like paying it forward. Not only do you need this, but we want to create a world of legacy makers, because in you creating your legacy, it touches other people in a positive way. And one of the reasons I wrote the book is because my experience previously when I made money is I realized I'm climbing this ladder just to realize I was leaning on the wrong wall the whole time. And the worst thing to do
Mm,
is to be successful and make all this ambition to realize it was empty. And I
mm.
want to change that forever.
When
Um,
you can we dive into that just real quick?
yeah.
So I know there's a lot of guys out there that are, they're chasing the money, they're chasing the
Mhm.
clout. You
Yep.
look on well, my computer just did something here. It's still running good?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just making sure. But yeah,
Hmm.
there's a lot of guys out there that they're chasing the fame, they're chasing the
Hmm.
clout, especially like on social media. And for a while, you had that life. You said it was what, for about 10 years you experienced the life of, having millions of dollars, having,
Yeah.
you know, um, having the assets, having the cars.
Hmm.
How was that life in comparison to when you lost everything, but you found a purpose? Can you talk about the comparison there? And what did you get out of having the life of that abundance that you were talking about,
Mhm.
material abundance?
Well, two things in that. One is that there's nothing wrong with material abundance. Since that crash happened, I built two other
Mhm.
seven-figure companies. So I still believe that there's a value to assets, but I just have a different. It's in a different priority, a different place, and a different purpose. For my
Mm,
life. When I
right.
did it for affluence and self-indulgence, I mean, you know, it was just like a kid in a candy store. It was all about me. Give me, give me, give me. Kind of like in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He was the little fat kid, Augustus Gloop. Oh, just give me, give me, give me. And like I said, when I lost it all, I realized, you know, what? Okay, so it made it hurt more because I'd put
Mm,
so much in. Like, look at all this stuff I got, and I got nothing.
yeah.
And it's a game you can't win because there's always somebody richer, somebody's got looks better on Facebook, somebody's more famous,
Yeah.
somebody who's traveled different places or got a hotter girl, or it's on and on and on
Mhm.
and on and on. Nobody can replace what it's like. I got a letter in the mail one time, which rarely, I mean, today we don't get letters, we get emails, right? I got a letter in the mail with a $50 bill, and this guy wrote me. He says, you don't even know who I am. I live in Scottsdale. He says, my wife and I started listening to your podcast, even though my show at the time was primarily for men. He says, when you did this thing I just described to you, right? These 3 steps of redefining relationships. He said, we re-listened to it together over and over again, made a commitment to do this, and it has revolutionized our marriage. And we've been married 22 years, and we were definitely getting to roommate stage. And he says, I just want to thank you because I've never felt this way. I'm so excited. And I know you like cigars, so please buy a few on me. Who is it? Right? We and I'm going to contrast that, to just my life of self-indulgence. And there was a time during these years when I was just doing my weekly show for men. I don't know if there was towards the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, I don't know if a day would go by when I didn't get some kind of an email saying what you're doing rocks. Don't change a thing. You're making a difference. Every week I look forward to it. It's my fuel for the next week. And I just, how do you replace that? What is there that can replace that other than I had to have legitimately actually been doing something good to benefit somebody else.
Mm.
I didn't ask for those. I can't generate those. I can't make people do those, you know? Um,
But it
yeah,
makes you know that you found your
yeah,
purpose.
yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. We can get into a whole thing on purpose. I talk about it in the book, how to identify it for a guy who has no idea where it is or how to begin. And there's like 3 different areas you start with: things that frustrate you, things that you're passionate about, things you resonate with. And so you go through these different things and you test them, and then I talk about action, and then everything has to start, and then you have to put action into it, and then you persist. So all of these things are in the book. A couple of the things, if you go to the website at markhamdavis.com and just get on the email list, I've just got some freebies there to help you on your journey. And one of them is a 7-day video course for free. I went in studio, paid the money to do this, and it's called 7 Days to Make Your Mark in the World. So I kind of do 15 to 20 minutes at a shot and break this all down into tools you can have. I also have a video on morning rituals, because I've just found this to be critical to my life, and I tell you what they are. And then I've got a template. You can download a daily planner template and how you just integrate these into your daily life. So I want to do as much as I can to help people. And as of the time of this recording, I've got nothing else to sell you. You know, I'll develop courses, we'll have masterminds and things. I want to speak live at places. But right now, I just want to help guys take this and make it work in their lives. Anyway, before I finish off the last four, is something else you really want me to hit? Yeah, we're on a run. Yeah, I know.
We're on a roll, man.
You're spinning, man. You are just like, you're like, go, 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 go.
I'm just enjoying, man. I'm just enjoying listening to you. So let's end with the last four acronyms, and we'll close it up here.
Right on, brother. I got to tell you, of all of them, I think experiences is my favorite. And only because after my second spouse passed away, I went through an 8-month depression. And when I came out of it, I just wanted to live. I just became yes man. I just said yes to everything. And I did go fishing in the middle of the Amazon for peacock bass. And at night I went out with the local natives and we caught caiman. There's a picture of me holding the 6-foot alligator in the book. And I came unglued for life. I wanted to live and experience it. But what I learned is to always bring people with me. And so I did it with groups. I go with, bunches of guys, and man, I'm telling you that brings, because like I said, the two things guys say most to me is, man, I want to feel alive again. And I want to know why I'm here. What's my purpose? You want to feel alive again? Figure out little adventures you can have. And it can be as simple as, just checking out a new restaurant, going to a sporting game or a stage show, or traveling to another city to go hang out with a buddy, have a cigar, or it can be planning out that, that crazy adventure, fishing trips, camping, whatever the case may be. But it's like people don't appreciate how vital experiences are. Not only to building relationships that they'll talk about you the rest of your life, but you will value. Assets are sort of obvious. And I had to write a chapter on it because assets are assumed to be part of legacies. And again, I've been this had it, lost it, had it millionaire guy. And not, I haven't crossed over into the hundreds of millions of dollars of wealth, but I've tasted all, and I don't have enough solid track record or education to give advice. But what I did was I studied and went through classes, and I interviewed these guys who are multi-generational wealth planners. And I looked at some habits. And I think the reason that money has always come to me has been a set of mindsets. I've never had a trouble making it. When I've lost money, I had no trouble making it again. Even when I'm down, I've always found resources. And so there's a little bit of flow that goes into that. And so there's some mindset things in the book about assets. And then I do some other things about bigger picture. People are really ready to build multi-generational wealth. I've got some advice from some of those guys in there, and even how to pass those things along. Creations, though, is the most powerful chapter in the book, because a creation is that thing that you have to birth from your soul. We are children of our Creator, who first and foremost is a creator. And so he's given to us something to create, something to birth. And whether it's like, a summit event you're doing, or writing a book, or making a movie, or music, or art, or architecture, or creating a business, things that can touch people that you may never personally meet or touch. That's your expandability of your legacy. It's your creations. Plus, I just believe they're in there. You probably heard that story from Les Brown. He says, there you are laying on your deathbed, and surrounding you are the ghosts of the dreams and the goals and the ambitions that were given to you, and only you could have brought them to life. But for whatever reason, you didn't. You got too busy. You didn't think it was right for you. And he says, now they're looking at you with angry eyes going, only you could have brought us to life. And instead, we have to die with you. And it's to like, don't let there be anything that is in you, not at least try to come to life. And so the creations chapter is about that. I also have a section in the creations chapter on how to take a creativity and make it into a business, with a beautiful commercial artist named Dale Mathis. And he teaches in there, and I quote him on, how to change your mindset from just being the artist to being a businessman, and make that so you can make a living on your art. And of course, the last one is expressions of kindness, which I have a nonprofit, but there's so many little ways we can do to help to give back to people who can't repay us, and how the beauty of giving and receiving changes people's lives. And that's a beautiful way to leave a legacy. The final chapter is also one of my favorites, where I talk about something that hasn't really been crossed much, and it's called the eternal you. And I lean on that belief that we are spirit beings, and having a human experience, we will return back to our creator and our source. And in that realm, we are always connected to all knowledge, all wisdom, all understanding, all love, and we have everything we need. And all the rest of us, you and all the rest of us, are also, spirit journeyers on this world. And we should love each other wherever we are on our journey, but understand the differences. Our purpose here is to experience, is to love, is to connect with source, is to experience each other, share what we have, lift each other up in service, and understand this world is a playground been made for us. And all the work we have can be better lived and experienced. All the projects, all the ambitions as men, just a picture almost like source is sort of like a dad coming with his kids in a box of Legos and say, hey, let's make something together. And then you realize all of our work is play in coming to our souls from a source who has unlimited resources. And it creates a lightness of being and a joy, and so many things I want for people. And in the end, closing out the idea of legacy, I close it on that because understand that ultimately your legacy is, after we leave this world, there will be an essence of a spirit and how we touched other spirits. That's the remnants of what stays behind forever, so that we will be remembered. And I'm just really grateful to God for what he's given me to say, and the experience I've had in life. Some of them have been very painful. Some of them have been exhilarating. Some of them have been moved in the wrong direction. I've experienced about every, I say that, knock on wood, I don't want to experience everything, God, but I've experienced so many things in life. And I'm entering at 61 years old, which I'm proud to say that I'm entering into my age of the sage, where I want so much for the young men to feel the fire of purpose, and guys who are feeling frustrated with young and middle families, that they're overwhelmed and they're not appreciated, to understand there's so much greatness. There's opportunity to truly come alive, to truly feel love, even where you are. To see guys in their 40s, and early 50s who feel like, I did all this, but what was the purpose of it? To realize there can be great purpose for it. And then guys coming my age who are going like, it's never too late to turn around and take what we're doing and formulate it in a way, that can leave a lasting impact and a mark. And it's hope for every one of us, of the life that truly in our hearts we know is there for us. And it rocks. It just really rocks. And I want to give that to as many guys as possible.
Awesome, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure a lot of guys out there are resonating with that message, and just the passion that you have brought into this talk. The passion alone, it just kind of shows the kind of man you are, and the experiences, everything you've been through that has kind of shaped you to be this man you are today. It's very admirable. And so I want to say that I appreciate the words of wisdom. It's been awesome, brother. Absolutely.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you for the work you're
Yeah.
doing with the summit. I hope it changes a lot of men's lives too. And guys, I'd love to connect with any one of you. Honestly,
Yeah.
go to markhamdavis.com. I'm sure you'll put it down here how to spell that. But just get on the email list, or you can just send me an email, markham@markhamdavis.com, and I will love to interact with you and help you on your journey any way you can, and hear your ideas of things you'd love for us to create to help you build your legacy. We have a lot of great ideas, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to be what's going to have the greatest impact. It's a community. It's a movement. The more we can shift people to wanting to be legacy makers, not just self-indulgent rich guys, touches the world, makes an impact, and you'll have this deeper sense of wisdom and satisfaction and fulfillment that you'll be really glad you did. Justin, you're really awesome, brother. I appreciate the work you're doing. I did a summit before, so I understand the work involved, and nobody else will.
There's a lot of hours that go into this.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I know this is going to help a lot of guys, and for that reason, it makes every second of it worth it. And I'll tell you this, I'm excited to dive into the book, and I'll keep you posted on how it is. But yeah, it sounds awesome. Guys that are listening out there, go check out the book today. I'm sure, like I said, it'll be available by the time this interview has launched. So go check it out. Markham, thank you so much for coming on. I greatly appreciate it.
You got it, brother.